Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out People of Reddit. Story 1. Keep your pathetic apology to yourself or get corrected. Back in college, I dated a guy, loser, for a short while. He was self-conscious about dropping out of HS and getting his GED, with a lot of help from his faculty mentor. He struggled with grammar and reading, probably from an undiagnosed learning disability because his single mother was a narcissistic hot mess and getting him tested would have meant she'd have to stop thinking about herself for 1 second. I met her once and that was one time too many. We had only been together a couple of months and I found out loser was bragging to his friends that he was sleeping with me. We had not had sex yet and after that, we were never going to. I promptly dumped him and told him to leave me alone. He wouldn't. Here's where the petty revenge comes in. Since I was effectively ghosting him, he couldn't apologize to my face, so he wrote a letter. It was the usual BS, "I'm sorry, I was just joking around, it was locker room talk, I do respect you, I just wanted to look cool, I won't do it again, insert eye rolls here." It was riddled with spelling errors and grammatical mistakes, it was like a 12-year-old wrote it. I was feeling rather vindictive, so I took a red pen and corrected the whole damn thing. At the bottom, I wrote "Cry me a river, so I can build you a bridge, so you can get over it, because I already have." I had a friend slip it under his door and felt pretty satisfied with myself. I went out with some friends and when I got back, I ran into my neighbors. It was a co-ed dorm and I was good friends with the guys and gals who lived near me. I'm still in contact with a couple of them to this day. A couple of the guys said loser was sulking angrily outside my door. They were concerned when they found out he was waiting for me. When they told him to get lost, he did that puffed up chest thing and tried to start a fight. My friends just laughed until loser realized no one was going to engage and left. When I got home, they were curious and wanted to know the whole story. We all had a good laugh at loser's expense and he left me alone after that. Every now and then, one of them would joke about how I'm a stickler for grammar and spelling and we'd all get another good laugh. Story 2. Boss exploited me so I secretly ate his food. When I was a teenager, I worked as a dishwasher every Thursday for 6 months. This restaurant was disgusting. We, the dishwashers, had to use the same towels multiple days in a row, because there were no clean ones, which is extremely unsanitary in a kitchen. The chefs and waiters absolutely abused their power and asked me to do so much extra work as if I didn't have a mountain of dirty dishes, glasses, and cutlery to clean. I could be extremely busy and suddenly have to run out and buy something for the chef. And when I came back, they were annoyed because they didn't have enough plates or whatever. I was also scolded for washing a cast iron pan with soap, even though nobody ever told me how to wash it properly, and I didn't know what it was. A few times I was called in to work on my day off because they had an event, and when I told them I had to leave at 10 p.m. because I had school in the morning, they just laughed and reminded me that I could leave when I was done. Sometimes at 1 a.m. They exploited that fact that I didn't know how to say no. But the worst one was the fact that everyone always left before me in the evening, because they were done and wanted to go home. I was a 16-year-old girl and was responsible for closing the restaurant up all alone, and I had to walk 300 meters down a creepy alleyway when it was dark at night to throw out the trash. I was all alone at night in the city centrum, in a dark alleyway. My grandfather was picking me up one night and he was so mad about it, that he asked me to quit right away. My mom agreed and I quit. But before I quit I had been getting my own petty revenge for a while. As I said, I was alone at night. Sometimes I was alone for a couple of hours while I finished the dishes, washed the floors and cleaned up after people. I knew that they didn't keep count of certain things, like how many sodas, ice creams, pancakes etc. they kept in the freezer and fridge. So every time I was closing up alone, I had myself a little party. I was also starving, because I never got any breaks to eat. So while I was washing up, I drank a couple of sodas, ate an ice cream and maybe warmed a pancake or two in the oven for myself. I never touched anything important like the money. I just ate what I wanted and cleaned everything afterwards, so they never knew. I even took a piece of cake or a sandwich with me home a few times. When I quit, the boss was mad, because I was apparently the best dishwasher they had. The other washers were lazy and unreliable, while I was very reliable and fast, because my mom taught me to work hard. I don't think I was anything special though, but I guess it's hard to keep good employees when you treat them like this. I also got a bad recommendation letter. But I will always remember how sweet the food tasted while I cleaned up everyone's crap alone. Story 3. Petty Revenge on Annoying Professor. Without going into too much detail, I had a one-on-one lecture series by a really big guy in his scientific field. The lecture in general was great, but holy mackerel, the guy was so upper full of himself. I'm sexy and I know it, but for this specific topic basically. He constantly talked about how important he was, how many influential people he knows, how his research is already changing the whole field, you get the picture. At the end of the lecture I was given the task to write a small paper about an adjacent research question and we agreed that I had 3 months for handing it in. After 2 weeks he already started to write emails about where the hell my paper was and how I could let a big guy like him wait and that this isn't a good image I am making for myself, etc. So I stopped all my research for a week to write that stupid little paper and I made sure to only quote research articles written by his biggest competitor that he had some professional and personal grudge against. And oh, you can be sure that he noticed that, because he wrote a cocky email to my supervisor. He questioned me about the whole story and he thought it was hilarious. I know it isn't much, but this is my little petty revenge and it felt good. Cheers. Story 4. My ex used to be really abusive, so once I played the long game. Okay, so first of all, looking back I was just in a really unhealthy relationship with an abusive partner. But I used to get my little revenges for slights along the way. This particular one took me weeks. He was on Ambien at the time. I'd wait for him to take it and go to bed. Then I'd get his phone and searched the weirdest terms I could think of and add porn after. Clown porn. Midget, I know it's a terrible term, riding a goat porn. Just random stuff like that. It took weeks because I wanted his search history to reflect that it wasn't a one-off. Then, casually, I looked at his phone history one night. I acted shocked. I showed it to him, asking what on earth he was into. The look on his face as he scrolled through weeks of this, all after taking Ambien, was priceless. He swore up and down he would never search such things. I had clicked random links to make it seem more legit. With each scroll he grew more and more pale. I acted more and more upset. Then, because I can never hold a joke for long, I cracked up and confessed. He was so angry. But for those few moments, it was beautiful. I wasn't truly in it to hurt him, no matter how much he hurt me. I just don't work that way. Leaving was the best choice I've been made. And honestly the best revenge I could have ever gotten, because he's still upset almost a decade later, lol. Narcissists are interesting beings. Story 5. Good deed gone bad. I was a recently married college student in the Midwest US in mid-1980s. I was driving with my wife on a busy street, turned on my signal and slowed to make a turn. We felt a small bump in the rear of the vehicle and pulled over. The car behind us did not see the signal and noticed that we were braking and struck us. The other car stopped and the driver was a teenage girl, with a learner's permit, accompanied with her father. The damage to our car was minor as I remember, some scraping/tearing of the rubber strip covering the metal rear bumper. The father of the girl asked me not to call the police, he would be happy to pay for the repairs. Obviously, he wanted to avoid an insurance claim and a mark on his daughter's driving record. As I was a naive fool at the time, I agreed. We exchanged phone numbers with the agreement that I would obtain a couple of estimates for repairs and then he would pay for the damages. He was your typical middle-aged father type and explained that he owned a business in town. After getting some estimates, probably less than $150, I attempted to contact Mr. Business Owner. When I spoke with him about the estimates for repair, he was very rude with me and basically told me to get lost. At this point, with no idea on how to proceed, I asked a friend, who was a law student, if he could give me any advice. He helped me write a stern letter with several empty threats reviewing what would happen if he didn't pay. The letter also reminded him of the nice gesture I made by not involving the police with his underage daughter's poor driving. The letter must have worked, because I eventually received a check for the amount of the repair estimate and we had our car repaired. But I was still fuming about how Mr. Business Owner treated me like a dick when I did him a favor. So I went to the pharmacy with the largest magazine rack and took subscription card inserts out of every pornographic magazine I could find, Playboy, Penthouse, Hustler, Playgirl, etc. Then I went to my apartment and filled in Mr. Business Owner's name and address on each of the cards. He had given me his phone and address information at the accident scene. The next day on my way to class I deposited the cards in the mailbox. The subscription cards all had postage paid so it didn't cost me a dime. Then I dreamed of all the dirty magazines that were delivered with Mr. Business Owner's name on the mailing label, and I hoped his wife and kids were the ones who got the mail each day and looked at the mags. Story 6. That's why you don't steal food, kid. Back in the day, some kid, let's call him Jacob, loved either stealing my food or throwing it on the floor. Me, being kind of a fat kid those days, hated that. So, my first instinct was to tell on him. Snitching didn't work, and Jacob wasn't punished. After a couple months of starving for 4 hours, I thought up a revenge plan. I was making a PB&J to bring that day, and I had a great idea. I added the most disgusting, evil concoctions to that horrible sandwich. Toothpaste? Check. Chewed up gum? Check. Licked lollipops without a stick? Check. And lastly, a little bit of paper cut out and colored to be the shape of Mario, Sonic, Pac-Man, and Mega Man. Wow, looking back at that, I feel so evil. Got lucky that day, and when Jacob came over, he grabbed my sandwich. He went to his table, and took a big, nice, super minty bite out of those 2 bread loaves smeared with toothpaste and chewed gum and all of that, with a little bit of PB&J taste as well. He spit it out, shot the bread into the trash can nearest to his table, and yelled, "What the F% number is this $? And never got robbed out of my food again." Story 7. I destroyed my former employer's credibility on Glassdoor and now they can't fill any positions. I worked for a non-profit with toxic leadership. Nobody was doing exit interviews, so I took over. I told employees to leave a review, but don't leave a 1-star review, because that shows you don't care. Leave a 2-star review, because that shows you care. Winky face. Most companies don't have any 2-star reviews from employees. This company has almost all 2 stars. Toxic workplace is trending in the reviews. Rating dropped from 3.4 to 2.4. CEO approval is almost nothing. CEO even planted 5-star reviews in her own company voice and branding, but it wasn't enough. Less than 200 employees, and 30+ empty positions at any given point. She's stepping down at the end of the year, and her statement sounded very scripted and her voice sounded very defeated. Peace out. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.